what do you think makes social media interactions and experiences different from real life experiences?
I think that a post can be a minute bit of a large picture.
Okay.
And people might react to, I think they can be, it encourages people like the fucking President of the United States to react to something when they really only have a very small piece of the story of the situation. But they take it as the truth about whatever that is and react. And it's, it enables people, I think, to be more reactive on very little information. The ones that are reactive, it's safer for them because it's not, if you're in person, you never know. Whoever might punch you or drive over you or all the other horrible things that happen these days. And I think for some people, I'm thinking of a cousin of Joe's. Anyway, they wouldn't normally be that reactive because they worry so much about what people think of them and stuff, but you can do it somewhat anonymously on social media. So there, she lets it rip. It enables you to interact with people from a very detached position because you're not seeing any body language or visible reaction. You're not having to deal with the reaction because if you don't want to, you just blog them. If you don't want to read it, it's easy to stop it. So you can dump. It makes it very easy to just be reactive or dump because you're isolated. You're connected to a lot of people, but you're by yourself when you do it. And you can turn it on and off depending upon what you're up for.
Okay. So tell me about a real life event that you've had that was similar to your bad experience on Facebook.
There was a parent last time I was in the classroom, and her son was very severely involved, as we say. Very limited, nonverbal, didn't have a communication device, didn't know too many picture symbols. Not many ways to communicate, and that often means when kids with autism are that way, especially by middle school, often they have, when they become very frustrated, they may well become physical, aggressive. And it makes sense to me because if you think about it, they've got all those feelings going through them of whatever, anger, hurt, frustration, pain. They have no way to communicate it. They don't know words. They don't know pictures. It's like a very primal way. When you're really, really upset, if you don't have words, you might cry, or you're going to get angry and you're going to start to hit. It's sort of what it goes down to. So, and that was her son. And the hitting tended to be just towards staff, and staff knew how to maneuver it, so I wasn't concerned about that. But, oh my God, this young man would scream. Full top of his lungs, loud, and one of those pitches that it's just like, after a while, everyone's getting edgy, everyone's getting snappy. It's just really hard to listen to. And we had an extra room there because they put a platform swing in for another student. And I got stuff and turned it into kind of a sensory room. And when he blew, because otherwise it triggered the other 10 kids in the room, and headphones didn't entirely, even if headphones drowned out the sound, there's still the energy. If someone is having a major meltdown in a room, even if you're deaf and blind, you are still going to know it. I would have him go to that room. He actually was quite happy because he didn't like being in the room with all the kids and their echolalia and their stuff and dropping books and what. He was happy. He'd swing and lots of sensory stuff, so he was fine. His mom felt that I was segregating him, which, from a perspective, you could say I was. But in my personal opinion, one child did not have the right to disrupt the classroom for 12. She made some, she wasn't a dumb woman, so she made some very sharp comments about challenging how much I really cared for all these kids, and I just liked the ones that, you know, were higher functioning I could talk to, and you know, didn't care about him. I mean, just challenged me on my not my credentials so much as how much my commitment to the kids, and that hurt. She's never going to agree with me with my choice. I knew that.
And then, so tell me about another real life event that was similar to your good experience. Like, have you ever had someone come up to you and basically kind of validate you?
There's a new kindergarten teacher, I think she is, and I thought she looked familiar, but I couldn't place her, and we passed in the hallway, like the second week of school, and she said, "You don't remember me, do you?" And I said, I'm sorry. I said, "It's nothing personal." I said, "No offense, I didn't remember what year my daughter was in college." Anyway, so she had, when I was at McGee, she was in the general ed teaching program, and they took a 4-week practicum and went and stayed so they could get an inside perspective of what special ed programs look like, blah, 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 blah. And she'd come and been in the classroom. And she just said how nice it was to see me, and she always had such great memories of doing that, and she thought these kids were so fortunate to have me here this year, and she knew, I said, well, just don't compare it to the way you see now. She said, "Oh, you'll get it under control, underhand. I know you will." So that was very nice.
They don't happen in real time, which is actually good, because I've actually gone back and deleted a few posts that I wrote in the heat of the moment, and then thought about, and 5 minutes later went back and, you know, either edited it or in a few cases deleted it. So that's good. You know, on one level, I get to think things through a little bit more. My responses are a little more considered. On the other hand, the whole element of spontaneity is pretty much gone. A lot of spontaneity is lost with that, and so that changes the interaction. There are also not long and thoughtful conversations, not a lot of back and forth. It's a little cumbersome to do back and forth on social media. I mean, you can, but usually you're doing something else at the same time, and so you're not really concentrating on both. And that doesn't feel good. If I want to talk to somebody, I want to talk to them. You know, I don't want to be trying to do others.
Tell me about a real life event that you had that was similar to your bad experience. So similar to like a family drama, kind of. And how do you think those experiences were made different by social media?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So you mentioned in your bad experience that you had discovered something.
Yeah, I read it out.
And
yeah.
How do you think, like, have you had a similar kind of experience in real life without social media being a factor? Do you think that made any kind of difference?
Yeah, with the social media, there is you can't backpedal or soften what you said, because there's a written record. So, you know, and the fact that I was texting it to my sister actually meant that I had to go back through and I had to see some of what I'd said and some of what she had said, and neither one of us, it was both good and bad, because it meant that we had to be both honest about what we'd said and done, but it also meant that nobody could go back and backpedal and sort of like try and soften it up and, you know, try and put a different spin on things. That I could go back and refer exactly what I had said.
Oh.
And I had actually overreacted somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
Although, yeah, you can make the argument, did I or didn't I? I mean, you know, in the end, I probably would have done the same thing, but I might have done it a little bit differently.
Okay.
I think that I didn't interpret it the way that she perhaps meant it. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and say, you know, I misinterpreted it. And if it had been in person, if we had not had that, I'm not sure if I would have come to that realization.
Okay. And then what about a real life event that was similar to your good experience? So,
Oh, well, not this last time we went to see Larry, but the time before when I went by myself, we actually stayed up late and had some good conversations until late in the night talking about stuff. You know, similar to what we have on Skype, but unlike Skype, which keeps crapping out in the middle of our talks, and, you know, we have to fiddle around with it, and he gets distracted with it. He didn't get distracted with anything, and so we stayed much more focused on what we were talking about.
Okay. Do you think it changed, like, the nature of your conversation since it was not via Skype, or do you think that generally stayed the same?
I think it stayed the same. One thing I don't like about Skype is you can see what you look like. And it's like, oh my God, do I really look like that? And that makes me self-conscious.
Okay.
So yeah. So in some ways, talking to somebody face-to-face is better.
What do you think makes social media interactions and experiences different from those in real life?
Just the fact that there's a screen where you can't see the other person. You can't read someone's emotion off of their face when they're talking or texting. Sure, they can put emotion into the words of what they're putting online, but most of social media, you don't ever get to see the person's face. And, you know, that takes a lot of what the conversation's at, which causes a lot of people to, you know, get miscommunication or get the wrong idea about what someone's saying. And again, going back to like all the people who just want to be out there to hurt somebody to make themselves feel better is, you know, they can hide behind the screen and say all the bad stuff they want and then never have to deal with the aftermath of actually facing that person.
Is there any real life event that was similar to your bad experience?
There are a few. Mostly just stuff at work where I try to say something, but I'm in a completely different generation, so if I tried to talk about something, no one knows what I'm talking about, and all the, I guess, older adults just stare at me with a blank thing going, that didn't make any sense.
And then tell me about a real life event that was similar to your good experience.
I sat at home one day and watched Netflix and watched a couple comedy shows, and they made me laugh.
What do you think makes social media interactions and experiences different from those in real life?
It is different because, like, we're humans, as I said, and humans need to react with other humans or interact with other humans. And I feel like I get worried because I feel like a lot of people are going to start being on social media more than they're interacting with through social media. Like with parents nowadays, I feel like they're going to miss out on their children and what their children's doing because they're so worried about putting pictures of their child on internet for other people to see, and yet they're not really focusing and putting all their immediate attention on their child. And, yeah.
Okay. And then so, tell me about a real life event that was similar to your bad experience on social media.
Well, there was this one time, long time ago, when Facebook was new to me. There was small talk in my immediate family about my stepdad going to Australia for a job, and for us to go to Australia, and I absolutely did not want to go to Australia because all of my life and my family were in Tucson, and yet I put it on Facebook as a status, and I put Australia with a question mark. me putting Australia, and so a lot of people were concerned and wanting to know what that meant. And so my mom and my stepdad got a lot of calls asking what it was, and instead of lying, and they told everyone that there's a chance that they would move to Australia. And instead of telling them in time if it was going to happen, they didn't even know if it was a possibility. But I got in huge trouble. And I had to take it off of Facebook, and they told me that I should have asked them, or and got permission to put it on Facebook. And because of this, everyone was freaking out and didn't want my family to go to Australia. And so that was really just a careless thing on my little Michaela part, but that was probably the worst thing that's happened to me with social media, because I just put one word and a question mark, and it created such a huge controversy in my family to where everyone was like, why? But it was just a word, the word Australia, and everyone freaked out.
Okay, and then tell me about, so what do you think makes your experience dating online through social media different than dating in real life?
I think that when people date in real life, they meet the person, they get nervous, they talk a little bit, and then they go on a date, and their date is nerve-wracking, and it just goes in a completely different way than what I did. And with Zach and I, how we talked on the phone all the time and FaceTimed each other on Skype all the time, and we talked to each other more times than I talked to anyone verbally in the place where I don't really know anyone. When I saw him for the first time, I was extremely nervous, and my heart was racing so fast, and my hands were shaking, and yet it was a different feeling. There was more excitement than nerve-wracking. And when you go on a date with someone, you're just nervous, and you have half of you saying, like, I wish I wasn't here, and the other half saying, like, what am I supposed to do now? And yet, with me, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave his side. I didn't want to leave him, but see, and that's just with me, because I didn't really do the normal dating online, because we talked it out, we talked about things, and we did everything we could verbally, but there's also that, either that sexually or physically we've never held hands before, we've never hugged, we've never kissed, we never did any of that, and yet, for some reason, everything just felt perfect. I'm getting off topic.
Yeah. Do you think that was maybe similar to just the fact that you got to know him, like, first a lot more than you've had in the past, or?
Yeah, because with other people, when, like with blind dates or something like that, you see a person, and people say don't judge a book by its cover, and people say, like, you just shouldn't judge someone just by looking at them, because you never know. But we're freaking human. And you look at someone, or you look at something, and you're like, you know what, no, that's not a good guy. Or, no, that book looks horrible. You know, and just by the cover, we're humans. We're going to judge everything. That's just in our nature of how we are. But I talked to Zach for 3 days with just seeing a picture or two on the social media, on Instagram. I just saw a couple pictures. I had no idea how he laughed and what he looked like laughing. I had no idea how he walked. I didn't know how tall he was. I didn't know what he did. I didn't know how he moved, and I didn't know anything. I just knew what he liked and what he disliked, and I knew what he wished for in the future and what he regretted in the past, but for all of that, I was so excited to find out all of those things. And with the first day we saw each other, we were like not necessarily staring at each other, but we were observing and admiring of how the other person was moving. And him and I went to the park and we were walking, and we would hold hands and we would hug randomly and we would kiss randomly, and he would walk forward and I would look at him and I would admire how he was moving, and just from knowing him, because we talked for a month on social media, and yeah, we Skyped each other, but that's not the same from seeing someone in person. And it gave a little better idea of how he talks with his hands and how he laughs and what he does when he laughs. But when you see someone in person, you're more focused and you pay attention more to how they're moving.
What do you think makes social media interactions and experiences different than the ones you have in real life?
Well, you can think out what you're going to say before you say it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you can erase it if it sounds stupid. When you're talking, there's no takebacks. There's no erase. So that is a pretty obvious one. People are pretty. You can ignore people on Facebook or on social media, and they are not going to be offended. Like, if somebody messages me and I don't feel like talking to them right away, I can wait 3 days and nobody's going to, oh my gosh, so rude. She didn't mention me right back because it's Facebook. Whereas if I ignored somebody who asked me a question that was sitting right next to me, but I was just like, oh, no, I don't want to answer that right now. Like, that's not going to roll. Also, you can interact with somebody's life on social media and they will never know. So, like, if you wanted to check up on somebody that you've never talked to, or somebody that you want to talk to but you're afraid to talk to, you can flip through their pictures endlessly and nobody would ever know. Whereas if you're sitting in a restaurant and you're staring at somebody because you want to be a part of their life, like, they're gonna know. So the animosity or anonymity, animosity. I think that's the biggest differential. You have access to a lot more people. Like,
Oh yeah.
if you're requiring face-to-face conversation, there's some people you should just never be able to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Or even calling over the phone. Like, it's a lot easier to message a friend in France than to call them because of the time difference and the cost of an international call.
Yeah.
So in that, and like inviting people to stuff, the events makes it really easy. You can just be like, all my Tucson friends, check, done. No, I would say that my experience has not been this way, but I do know that a lot of people find social media to be actually really depressing, because people don't post their real lives on Facebook. A lot of times they post whatever looks good. So like, I'm traveling, or got a new car, or my life is awesome, yay me, #winning, and they don't post like, dropped a bowl this morning, stepped on the glass while the dog was running through,
Yeah.
those kind of, like, they don't post the things that suck, or got an F on my paper, what the crap.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to feel like your life in comparison to other people's lives suck because you're looking at the best perspective of somebody's life. And so you go through like, well, I'm not in France right now. I didn't just eat this huge double cheeseburger. Like, whatever it is, or I wish my dad sent me flowers on my birthday, or, whatever it is. There's I think it does cause a lot of discontentment, especially in people in a generation that has a tendency to compare everything, so
For sure.
that would be my other thought on that. And also that we spend so much time documenting our lives that a lot of times, like, you don't need to share everything. I think it can be really distracting. Yeah, both of those things. That we spend a lot of time documenting. To what end? Like, who's going to really care in 10 years? Whether you had a cheeseburger that was 3 patties high. Like, nobody. Oh, and distracting. Like, how much time could be spent doing other things if you weren't spending it on Facebook or on social media? And because it is so easy to say things, a lot of things are said carelessly.
Yeah.
So those are my other thoughts. Not my experience necessarily personally, but I do see that in people and around.
What makes social media interactions and experiences different from those you have in real life?
Twofold. One, people, including myself, sometimes feel that social media is a place where they can express their opinion for the whole world to hear, and they don't think about whether or not that opinion is actually necessary for the world to hear. And with that said, when they express those opinions and then the next person along the line also expresses their opinion and is different from theirs, they're not face to face and they don't think about what their words they're writing actually affects the person, because they never actually have to see how it's affecting that person. They just post it and the damage is done.